So a couple weeks ago I got an email from Ciro. They had a $299 air filter for $40 and found it a little too hard to believe, but I ended up buying one of them just for 40 bucks, why not? So what we got was they got the air filter here, and you get a bag of bolts, 2 new breather bolts, the various bolts that you need to connect to the old setup. See, this thing looks like a, okay, this is a fancy little cover that probably goes over one of the bolt that ends up in the middle here of the filter. Open this guy up and see what we got here. Yeah, this is all sealed up here, so cut a little hole in it, take it apart. So we got the filter part here, the actual filter itself, a bracket, and then the backing plate. And then, like I said, I think this piece here ends up going in the middle here to make it look fancy. Hopefully it'll stay on. Looks like it just pushes on over the bolt that's in there. Got a rubber gasket, or actually it's a paper gasket. It's a little bent up, but anyway, that's what it is. So let's get to putting this thing on the bike. So the first thing we got to do is remove the old air filter, which the new one's going to be a lot closer, which I think I'll really like, because a lot of people complain this thing sticks out way too far. You get your foot, hard to get your foot on the footrest. So let's take off the fancy flames here. Looks like we're losing the theme of the air cleaner, but that's okay. Funny thing about these little bolts, they're metric, so obviously we know where it made it. Let's take that off. Alright. Okay, next we got to get this bolt out, and it takes a 5/16 inch Allen. Alright. And that comes off. We'll set that off to the side. Next we've got these 3 Torx head screws, and it's a T27 to take those off. Alright, so the next thing we gotta do is take the breather bolts off. If you remember, I put the external breather on here, so we'll pull off the hoses for that. And this is 7/16 inch, and get these breather bolts off. Alright, and that leaves us with the throttle body showing. Alright, first thing we got to do is we're going to put this gasket on. This goes right here, so I'm going to clean this up a little bit. Throttle body looks pretty clean. So then we're going to take this and place it over the hole. So let's give it a shot here. Things kind of bent up a little bit, which might make it a little difficult to apply here. Yeah, it doesn't really want to stick too good, so looks like we're going to have a little bit of fun putting the cover on, but that's okay. We can deal with it. I mean, it is all this oil and everything that's on this here that tried to get off, but couldn't do it. Alright, so the next step is to put the breather bolts in, and we'll try and figure out how my external breather is going to work. So we'll put a little blue Loctite on the bolts. Alright, and they say to tighten them 10 to 12 foot-pounds, so we'll tighten them up. Okay. Alrighty. That's that. So now we got to work on our external breather setup here. Because if I take this plate and I put it up here, it's going to end up going like this. You're going to see them a little bit. So I have to kind of figure out, well, I guess it kind of goes like, yeah, it goes like this, I'm sorry. It'll go like that. So we're going to see the hoses a little bit. So I'm going to have to just try and figure out how to route those a little bit nicer. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is we're going to work with the gasket. Hopefully I maybe make it stay there a little bit. And we're going to put this plate on with the hole at the top. This hole at the top is where you're supposed to put your breather, the tube that comes from your two breather bolts on the factory, but we're not going to use that. And then this plate here, which attaches like that, and then this area here, that screw is where we'll attach the actual filter once we get it on. So let's see if we can get this thing to kind of go together a little bit here. Let's try and take this sticky stuff and see if it'll maybe stick. I don't know. I could just get it to hold on for a second while I put the bolts in. And I did use some blue Loctite on the bolts. They just go, there's a bolt and there's a little split washer there to lock it down. And this is a 5/16 Allen here. Now they don't give me any torque specs on it, so I'm just gonna, kind of do it by feel. Just tighten it down, hand tight here, and then just give it a little bit to just hold it in. The blue Loctite should do its job for it. Alright. Alright. And then the next thing we got to do is we're going to take our filter and put it on. Put it all together here, put it over it, get this bolt, take the screwdriver, get that so it looks like it's straight up and down. Looks good. Alright. We'll tighten her down. And again, by feel, I did put blue Loctite on it. And then the last thing we got to do is put this little, flip this over it. And that's it. It's installed. Not real hard to do. Not really liking the way my breather cables are hanging out here, but not much you can really do with that when you're trying to get that away from the cylinder heads. So the last thing that you got to do when you put a high capacity air filter on here is you do need a new tune for it. And I've got the Dynajet Power Vision, which I absolutely love. And I bought it from a company called Fuel Moto. And if you buy it from Fuel Moto, they will give you tunes if you just tell them what you have on their bike, even if you don't buy from them. I originally had bought an exhaust and one of their air filters. So I got the tune from them, and I'll load it on this, and then we'll load it on the bike, and we should be all set with finishing stage 1.